Sagan, scientist, astronomer, enlightenment, you think that indeed there may be some sort of intelligence out there?
May, surely may. We now realize an enormous number of planets, a range of planetary systems around nearby stars. So there's a lot of potential abodes for life. That's one thing. Then there's the question of organic matter, the carbon-rich complex molecules that are essential for the kind of life we know about are fantastically abundant. They litter the universe. We see them in asteroids and comets and the moons in the outer solar system, and even in the cold, dark spaces between the stars. So the stuff of life is everywhere. And then there's time. There are billions of years for biological evolution on all those worlds. There are many worlds that are much older than ours. So you put those together, lots of places, lots of organic matter, lots of time, and it seems very hard to believe that our paltry little planet is the only one that's inhabited.
Welcome to the universe in a seashell, the podcast dedicated to science, life, and girl power. I'm Kara Bartek and I'm your host. I'm a PhD, an author, and I want to make this world a more equal and opportune place, one girl at a time. It's Kara, your host, and I am joined today by my very lovely, very smart, very cheerleadery co-host,
Hi
Caroline.
guys!
Yes.
Hi guys!
But we're also joined by about 10,000 of our favorite bug friends, right?
Hi guys! Hi guys! Hi guys! Hi guys! Hi guys! Hi guys!
Because we're actually recording the podcast outside because inside is kind of like complete chaos.
Because our dad's cooking
Yeah.
dinner.
He's cooking dinner. Cece's dad is finally back from research season, so we've kind of got everything wrapped up. That means he'll be at home a little more often than he has been all summer, which is great, right?
It is.
But it definitely increases the noise level in the house, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about, now this really doesn't have anything to do with Dad. This was just kind of like a separate incident. But I think it's a story that our listeners will enjoy. Okay?
What?
You know, it's only appropriate since we are going to be talking about kind of a cool but spooky topic, which is the possibility of extraterrestrial life. I need to tell you guys about a spooky story that happened last night.
Oh, don't tell him. If you do, I'm gonna fart. She says this one part that's so funny that she told me it last night, and I literally farted under the covers. So, she's so funny.
Please, don't give me the crop dusting, okay? Well, actually, we're outside, so we've got some good airflow. Okay. So last night, I am sound asleep, and I'm woken up to, like, bloody murder screaming, okay? I definitely felt like somebody was being murdered. It was so bad. Like, there was either major injury, somebody had accidentally amputated an arm or a leg, maybe a plane had accidentally crashed into the living room. I don't know, like, but judging by the level of screaminess coming from Cece and Penny's room, I thought, okay, this is the end. I don't know. I don't know what kind of carnage I'm going to be walking in on. So, Cece's screaming. Penny's screaming, and the only thing I can kind of make out is, Mom, Dad, help, help, help. And then kind of in between the mutters, I can hear, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And so I'm kind of going, okay, this cannot be good. Okay, no, it can't be good. So I go in there. Well, actually, I kind of meet you like halfway. You were running out.
I was like, Mom, help me!
Yes. Okay. So I run out of the bed, and I meet Cece in the living room, and she's running, and she's going, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, what just happened? So I go in there, and the girl's bed is like pushed up against the wall. Okay.
No, it isn't. It's like off.
Well, it's supposed to be pushed up against, and this is where the story takes a turn. So the bed should be pushed up totally against the wall. Well, obviously it's not. Somehow Penny had fallen and became wedged between the bed and the wall. Okay, so I run in there, and all I can see is a little fuzzy head popping up. Oh gosh, Caroline cannot, hold on, we gotta break it. All I can see is this little fuzzy head, okay? And I'm like, what exactly am I looking at here? So
and then you heard, Mom, help me! I fell on the side of the bed.
Yep. And yeah, so I mean, and that's basically that's what happened. Somehow, some way, Penny became wedged, and everybody was freaking out. Okay, I was freaking out.
And the thing that's so weird is my dad did not wake up.
No, not even 1 second. Well, but when I saw her, I was afraid that the part that was all wedged down in there, I would pull it out and it would just be like bloody goo or something, like, you know, like hamburger. Like I felt like that was the injured part, was behind the bed. Like maybe there was a break. I mean, it's possible, you know, you fall, something bad. But I jerked her out, boom, and she kind of flew out. Boom, she popped out, and everything was fine.
I tried to get her out, but it was scary.
So, and I just don't understand why it warranted that level of screaminess.
It was scary.
Okay, but
I'm
anyway.
only 8.
Okay, you need to keep up with your age for sure. That could be important down the road. So yeah, so she was wedged behind there. She was fine. She screamed, everybody. But here's the thing, just like Cece said, this entire time, their dad never woke up.
That's like,
how is that possible? I kind of feel like that's a dad thing. Well, and no, you know what I know that it is? It's because he snores like a freight train. I mean, it's so loud.
I have to like go, and I have to like cover my ears and like.
He couldn't hear all this screaming and carnage over his own snoring. That's my theory. Okay, so are we the only family out there whose dad could, you know, like basically sleep through like a tornado, any kind of natural disaster, maybe a monsoon?
What's a monsoon?
Oh, it's horrible, torrential rains, winds, maybe a volcano exploding. I think Dad could sleep through a volcano exploding. What do you think?
Alright.
Well, at any rate, that was our... And so I woke up, you know, basically having a heart attack, and it took me a long time to get back to bed.
Me too.
Yeah, so
She had to give me Benadryl because I had a runny nose, and it also put me to sleep.
Yeah, Penny was having a cough too, and yeah, it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. But fortunately, we are going to be talking about a really cool topic on the podcast today. Okay, this is for sure one of my favorite subjects.
Not my favorite subject.
I know, I'm kind of a geek. I love aliens. Okay, I love alien movies. I love alien podcasts. I love alien books. I love anything and everything alien. Now, and I know, here's the thing. I get it. So, aliens, all of this kind of sci-fi stuff, it's regarded as being very pseudo-scientific, right?
It's not real.
Yep. But what we're going to be talking about is the scientific possibility that extraterrestrial life could exist. Okay? So this isn't just me kind of reading all of those crazy books or listening to those kind of spooky podcasts. Sometimes these alien stories can be like super creepy.
Like one time, was it an alien podcast that Penny woke up to, or was it Dogman?
Oh, that was Bigfoot. I was listening to a podcast where they had recorded some supposed Bigfoot calls.
Oh yeah, I woke up one time to that because it was scary.
So yeah, I kind of like all of this fringe science stuff. Don't get me wrong. Science is my main jam. I'm pretty much into science, but I also like science fiction.
But the thing that Mom thinks I'm weird about, I'm the same as my dad. If Penny wakes up and says, "I'm scared," I don't wake up. And I don't hear anything.
Oh yeah, you're a hard sleeper too, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously didn't sleep through that because you screamed my head off and almost made me die in my sleep, okay? So, I'm discounting that. But anyway, I wanted to remind all of our listeners out there, if you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Not only is that great feedback for me and Cece, we want to know what's working on the podcast, what's not working, but it raises our visibility in whatever pod listener audio app that you're listening in. It helps us out. It raises our visibility. We can go higher in the charge. People can find us in searches easier. And yeah, that's pretty good for us, because guess what? The universe in a seashell is all about making this world a more equal and opportune place, one girl at a time. Girl power. And I can't do it alone.
Girl power.
Yeah. That's right. I can't do it alone. So please make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review. If you're in iTunes, if you're in Podbean, if you're in Spotify, go ahead, click that subscribe button. Let us know what you think, and please stay tuned. Because, and when you subscribe, you'll get notified of the new episodes, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this entire, we're going on about a month and a half now that we've been covering everything the summer sky. So we've been talking about stars, we've been talking about the moon, we've been talking about black holes, which that was kind of a cool topic, right?
But didn't you see like something like hovering and then it just disappeared one night while you were going to the bathroom?
Oh, when I was looking at it. Well, we'll get into that. That's great. I'm so glad that you reminded me of that. But anyway, yes, because I'm a constant sky watcher, and when Cece and I lay out on our blanket, a lot of times, on very clear nights, we can see very strange objects. I think a lot of them might be satellites, and we actually have an app that can kind of track where satellites are. But I did have kind of an odd incident one evening where I was going to the bathroom way late at night, and I looked out into the sky, because again, it was a very clear night, especially here out in the country, because we don't have any light pollution. There's really no lights on around us, so everything's very dark, and if the moon is pretty dark itself, we can see the stars very well, and we can see other objects. But yes, I saw something that was a little bizarre. And I can see planes, because over to, I don't know, what direction is that, Cece? Is
that way?
Is that the north? Is that north?
If I had my
west of
phone
us?
with me, I could use my compass on my phone.
So we've got several airports kind of surrounding us. We're basically right smack dab in between Houston and San Antonio on I-10. So we've got airports, and we've got the Austin airport around us, we've got the San Antonio, even the Houston. So we definitely see planes in the sky. But this one night I saw something that just, it didn't seem like I'm not saying I saw a UFO, but I definitely saw something strange. I think I just kind of want to see a UFO. That would be a pretty interesting thing. And you know what I love most about the idea of life existing outside of just our planet is that it really would mean that we're living in a very extraordinary universe, right? Can you imagine what other life would be like? Would they have two heads? Would they be shaped like a butterfly?
Would they have blue skin?
Would they have blue skin? Yeah, I mean, it's so extraordinary. It's amazing. So, and all of that stuff is really, really cool to think about. But what Cece and I are going to be discussing on this episode of the podcast is the scientific evidence, the scientific proof that there might be life other than here on Earth. You ready, Cece?
Yep.
Okay. So the very first thing that I think is important when we're talking about a scientific discussion of the possibility of aliens is something called the Drake equation.
What's that?
Okay, so here it is. The Drake equation is a probabilistic argument. And so basically what that means is a way of trying to understand what would the probability or what would the likelihood of extraterrestrial life.
But what do they mean by argument?
Well, wait a second. So it's this probabilistic argument, which is kind of like a theory, an angle. No, it's not in that way. It's kind of like somebody who's making a point about something.
Okay.
So my argument for really liking Taco Bell is the fact that they have great vegetarian options, and I love their nachos.
They took away the Nacho Grande box.
Yeah, we need to write a letter. But anyway, so it's the argument that is used to estimate the number of active communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy, okay? So it's an actual mathematical equation. It was written in 1961 by a guy named Frank Drake, not for the purposes of quantifying the actual number of civilizations, but as a way to stimulate scientific dialogue for the first scientific meeting of the SETI project, which SETI stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Yes. SETI. It kind of has a...
Yeti.
That's going to be another podcast topic.
Yeti.
I love Yeti too. But anyway, but this equation summarizes the main concepts which scientists must contemplate when considering the question of other radio-communicative life. It is more properly thought of as an approximation rather than a serious attempt to determine a precise number. So what this is, this Drake equation, is this literal math formula where a lot of things are taken into account. The number of stars, the number of planets, the number of possible planets, and in particular, the number of planets that would be existing in the Goldilocks region of space. Okay, and so what Goldilocks means is kind of everybody thinks that Earth is really in the sweet spot as far as solar systems goes, okay? Because we know about Goldilocks. Well, what was Goldilocks? What was Goldilocks' deal?
She went into a house with 3 bears.
Yeah, and what was she looking for?
I forgot.
It was, everything was like needed to be just right, you know, not too hot, not too cold, right?
Just right.
Just right. You know, she wanted her bed to be just right. She wanted the porch to be just right. Not too hot, not too cold. And so that's kind of the idea with Earth. Earth supposedly, and this is what a lot of scientists say, exist in what's called a Goldilocks region of the solar system, which means we're not too hot and we're not too cold. We're far enough away from the sun where we get a lot of nice heat. So plants can grow, we can grow, but it's also not too far away where we'd be frozen, like some of our other planets in the solar system. Yeah. But we're not too close where we would be like a hot little planet like Mercury.
Yeah, I don't want to be Mercury or Pluto.
Well, and another key ingredient for life on Earth is water, okay? And being in the Goldilocks region, water is abundant. Now, here's the deal. We generally thought that Earth was about the only place that had water. But here we go. As it turns out, liquid water is pretty common just within our solar system, okay? There is evidence that's mounting that liquid water may flow underneath the surface of Mars and Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter. Scientists believe that Europa actually has a liquid ocean. And the Jovian moons Callisto and Ganymede. Okay?
Do you want to do the tongue twister
Yeah, I don't know.
thing?
I don't know. But anyway, these
Peter
two
Piper
moons,
picks a peck of
Callisto.
peppers.
Peter Piper picks a pick. I know. Some of these interstellar names are pretty complicated. I think that's right. Ganymede. Saturn's moons, Titan, and Enceladus. Enceladus.
Enceladus.
Yeah.
Lettuce.
Enceladus.
Enceladus?
That sounds right.
Enceladus. Okay. Let's go with Enceladus.
They might have water on them. Even Venus. There's a possibility that Venus might have water on it. So here we are. Just within our solar system, scientists are finding evidence of water that's flowing. So what would you think that would mean for something as large as our galaxy, the Milky Way?
That's unbelievable. We could live on all of these other planets.
Well, don't you think that if there could be water just within our solar system, that there's also a possibility there could be water in our larger galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even the universe.
Yep.
Okay, and so that's kind of how the Drake equation works ultimately. It's kind of saying, hey, look, it happened here once. Life abounds with life. We've got pandas, we've got tigers, we've got spiders, we've got all of this kind of stuff. Why couldn't it exist on other planets?
Because the other planets are too hot, too cold, but we're just right.
But if you think about it, in an area as large as our galaxy, don't you think there could be other planets just like ours?
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's what the Drake equation is all about. So that's one of the first ways that if people say there's no scientific evidence that aliens exist. Okay, you're right. We don't have an alien like in a zoo that we know of. We don't have an alien ship that exists in a museum. But what we do have are good scientific guesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, that word that you really like, SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Yeti!
Well, anyway, SETI is a real organization. And so what this is a team of scientists who are using these massive radars and radio signal detector things. It looks like a huge dish. They are pointing it out to space to see if they can get any communication, radio communication from aliens.
That's cool!
Yes. And this has been going on since, I think, the 1970s, I believe. There's been movies and all kinds of cool stuff. Even Dad and I actually saw one of these facilities. It's called Arecibo in Puerto Rico.
You've been to Puerto Rico? I know
Yeah.
Daddy's been, but I don't know if you've been.
Yeah.
But now I know.
Yeah, I went before Daddy was working one of his winter breeding nurseries, and we went to Arecibo.
Was I born?
No. You weren't born. This was way
That's
before
why
your
I
time.
don't know.
Exactly. There you go. So anyway, so it's these massive, big satellite dishes that are out there capturing radio signals, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about a signal that they detected. It's called the WOW signal. And this was a strong narrowband radio signal received on August 15th, 1977 by Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope in the United States, then used to support SETI, or the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal appeared to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius and bore the expected hallmarks of extraterrestrial origin. Okay, here we go. Astronomer Jerry R. Eman discovered the anomaly a few days later while reviewing the recorded data. He was so impressed by the result that he circled the reading on the computer printout and wrote the comment, "Wow!" exclamation point on its side, leading to the event's widely used name. The entire signal sequence lasted for a full 72-second window, during which Big Ear was able to observe it, but had not been detected since, despite several subsequent attempts by Eman and many others. Many hypotheses have been advanced on the origin of the emission, including natural and human sources, but none of them adequately explains the signal, although the WOW signal was unmodulated and had no encoded information, which means, when we're transmitting radio signals, a lot of times there can be some sort of communication in it. This particular one did not have any communication. It remains the strongest candidate for an alien radio transmission ever detected. What do you think about that?
Wow.
Just like the WOW signal. Because, here's the deal. We have been putting stuff out into space to communicate with possible extraterrestrial civilizations for a long time. We've
How
been
long?
putting out, I think since the 1960s, since we really got into heavy space travel. So we've been emitting, songs, TV shows, all kinds of stuff to really let a civilization kind of know about our culture and know kind of what the human race is all about.
So they might send something back.
Well, that's the idea. That's the idea, that they would send something back. So really, the WOW signal is the only time that we can point to that we may have been communicated with by this extraterrestrial civilization. And hey, this isn't just some kind of crazy story that may or may not be true. This is real data that was recorded at Ohio State University.
Don't our cousins live in Ohio?
Yep. They sure do.
That's cool.
It is cool. So what do you think this WOW signal is all about? Do you think that strengthens the argument for extraterrestrial life, or do you think it's just kind of maybe like an anomaly? Just something that happened that we are misinterpreting?
I don't know. It might be both or something.
Okay, I can see that. But anyway, it's very strong evidence that we potentially received this communication. Okay. Now, I want to tell you about another phenomenon. Now, this is less along the lines of scientific information, meaning that it wasn't necessarily collected by scientists. However, this was collected by our military, okay? In particular, during World War II.
Okay.
So there was this phenomena called Foo Fighters. Have you ever heard of that?
Foo-foo.
That used to be your word for poo-poo when you were a baby. Do you remember that?
I need to go foo-foo.
Well, it's not like that. And it's not the band Foo Fighters, okay? Two
Foo
different
Foo.
things. However, I do believe that they named the band Foo Fighters after this particular phenomena. So, okay. During World War II, obviously there was a lot of flying and stuff like that. So pilots were in the air constantly. Well, what was happening is pilots, in particular the Allied pilots, so that would be, American, European, British. These folks were seeing something in the sky, okay? And what they were seeing was UFOs. Now, this wasn't just a one-off incident. This was happening tens and tens of times. This was being reported over and over and over. And when they would see these things happening, a lot of times it wasn't just witnessed by one person, but there may have been 2 and even 3 people. People were seeing them on radar. So it's not somebody just misinterpreting maybe a star in the sky or a shooting star. We have multiple witnesses corroborating this phenomenon. Okay? So do you want to hear about these Foo Fighters?
Foo-foo.
Okay, here's the first one. On December 22nd, 1944, a pilot of an Allied plane was nervous. He was at 10,000 feet over enemy territory. Somewhere hidden in the black sky, there was sure to be a German fighter aircraft. So he's kind of nervous. He's on edge. He's anticipating seeing, a German enemy fighter. Okay? Mm-hmm. Well, he scanned the darkness looking for trouble. Suddenly he saw 2 large orange glowing balls approaching him. His radio operator saw them too. They didn't look like enemy fighters, but neither did they look like anything he'd seen before. The balls suddenly leveled off and started following the plane. The pilot decided to try and lose them with evasive maneuvers. He put his plane into a steep dive. The objects immediately followed. Next, he tried a sharply banked turn. The objects stayed with him. For several more minutes, the pilot used his best tricks to lose his pursuers and failed. When he was about to give up, suddenly the objects were gone, disappearing suddenly into the night. During the whole incident, not a shot was fired.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious, okay? So here's one incident by a gentleman in the military. And this is the thing about folks who are enlisted and fighting through the war. They generally don't make up stories. Wouldn't you think?
No, they don't.
They're really too busy focused on their task at hand. A lot of times their life is in danger, so they can't really fool around. This is one of the things. Do you want me to read you some more stories?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I want to hear foo-foo.
This story comes from Army Air Major William DeLeet. Now, this is a direct quote from this gentleman. My B-17 crew and I were kept company by a Foo Fighter, a small disc, all the way from Klagenfurt, Austria to the Adriatic Sea. This occurred on a lone wolf mission at night, as I recall, in December 44. Major Leet goes on to note that the intelligence officer that debriefed him and his crew stated that it was a new German fighter, but he could not explain why it did not fire on us, or if it was reporting our heading, altitude, and airspeed, why we did not receive anti-aircraft fire. Okay? So he's seeing a disc. And again, this is being what?
The second story I've heard?
Yeah, what about it? What do you think?
Cool!
Okay, here's the last one.
Okay.
In 1944, over the Indian Ocean, the co-pilot of a U.S. Army Air Force B-29 Superfortress reported an encounter with a peculiar UFO. A strange object was pacing us at about 500 yards off the starboard wing. At that distance, it appeared as a spherical object, probably 5 or 6 foot in diameter, of a very bright and intense red or orange. It seemed to have a halo effect. My gunner reported it coming in from about 5 o'clock position, right at our rear, at our level. It seemed to throb and vibrate constantly. Assuming it was some kind of radio-controlled object sent to pace us, I went into evasive action, changing direction constantly, as much as 90 degrees in an altitude of 2,000 feet. It followed our every maneuver for about 8 minutes, always holding a position about 500 yards out and at about 2 o'clock in relation to the plane. When it left, it made an abrupt 90-degree turn, accelerating rapidly, and disappeared into the overcast.
That's weird.
Right?
All of these stories are so weird. Now, will you tell your story
I already did, remember? I already told my story.
about the...
Yeah, I kind of saw something a little bit strange. But, okay, so what do you think about this? Okay, so we've got some scientific possibilities that extraterrestrial life could exist, okay? We've got this equation that says, yes, based upon numbers and how many stars there are in the sky, how many possible planets that exist in our galaxy, it's very likely we could have extraterrestrial life. Also, we had this really weird thing going on with that wow signal, right?
Yeah, but I still don't believe in aliens.
Okay, what about all these guys who were fighting during World War II who are seeing these strange flying objects that are, using aerodynamic maneuvering that was way advanced for the time?
I still don't believe.
You don't? You're not convinced? Okay, well then let's try this. What do you think would happen if an alien craft landed right here in Texas tomorrow? What do you think people would do?
Stay still in their home?
Do you think it would be scary?
Nope.
Do you think people would welcome them?
Yep.
You do?
Yep.
Why do you think that? Well, if they would stay still in their home, that kind of makes me think that you think that people would be scared.
No, they would just, if it was at night, they would just keep on sleeping.
Oh, so we would ignore it?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that if aliens visited us, that maybe we could learn new things?
Maybe.
Like what?
How to build better aircrafts?
Probably, yeah. If they can make it all the way across the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could probably teach us a lot. Do you think they could add value to the world?
Yep.
Let me think. What else do I want to know? I love picking your brain about aliens. This is a subject that you don't generally like to talk about, do you?
Mm-mm.
It kind of seems like it would be, I think I would be scared.
I wouldn't. I would just keep on sleeping.
Keep on sleeping?
Yep.
What do you think aliens would look like?
I don't know.
Like a big green booger? Like a giant bowl of jelly?
A giant bowl of jelly. Wobble, 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 wobble.
Do you think they would look like us? They would have like 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears?
2 noses?
Well, because, if you think about it, a lot of times there are things, like think about spiders having like 8 eyes. See, I kind of think aliens would look a little bit like, maybe some of these stranger animals that we have. I don't think they're going to look like us.
What if there were different kinds of aliens?
Ooh, now I like this discussion. Yeah.
Like there was one that can shapeshift, and what if there was one that could shapeshift, one that had blue skin, 2 eyes, 20 noses, 0 mouths, and then 9 ears?
Do you think that they'd like the 3rd grade?
No.
Do you think they'd like Taco Bell?
Yes.
All right, folks. Well, that's all we've got to talk about for the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Please be sure to download your very own sky watching kit. Make sure that you're keeping your eyes towards the sky and enjoying this wonderful last few days before school starts. Or if you've already started school, good luck. I hope that you're enjoying it. I thank you all for listening. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and drop me a line at universeinaseashell@gmail.com. Thank you.
Bye.